Alright guys, thank you guys for coming back again. So today we're going to be looking at the Mongols. But before we do, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about subscribers. So if we get to 500 subscribers, I'm going to be doing a giveaway. So if we get to 500 subscribers, I'm going to be giving away a chivo. Yeah, you heard me right, a chivo. Which, by the way, I don't know exactly how I'm going to get the chivo, but my tío has some chivos, so like I'm going to get like a carrot or something. Be like, come on, little chivo, chivo, chivo. And I'm going to get that food, and I'm going to give it away. So if you want that chiva, comment down below and tell me what you would do with that chiva. So like, would you make it into birria or something? Would you keep it as a pet? So talking about chivas, the Mongols actually used to be goat herders. So that's kind of what the Mongols were doing for a very long time, until one person, Genghis Khan, ended up changing the history of the Mongols forever, as we're going to see. So here's the essential question for today. That is, how did the Mongols destroy but also interconnect the world? Anything in red, you need to write down exactly. Anything in yellow, I want you guys to put it in your own words. And anything in green, you do not need to write down. The Mongols were actually nomads that were just like the Muslims. They would move around from place to place. They would use up all the resources of a given area, and then they would kind of move on to the next kind of area and do the same thing and basically move around from place to place. Now these people ended up creating the largest connected empire ever in the history of the world. So we're going to see exactly how that happened. And it all started with one person named Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan had a pretty terrible life. Even before he was born, his story starts off in a very dark kind of way. So his father actually kidnapped his wife and basically forced her to marry him, which was actually something that was pretty common in Mongolia. And basically they eventually have a couple children, and one of which was Genghis Khan. Now, legend has it that Genghis Khan was born with a blood clot in his hand, which basically represented to the people of Mongolia, or so the legend goes, that he was going to be a very powerful individual. So at 9 years old, his father ends up getting poisoned by a rival clan, and he ends up dying. So him and his 6 brothers end up alone because their tribe actually left them to fend for themselves. So they, along with their mother, basically had to survive on their own out in the wilderness in the steppes of Mongolia. Now, Genghis Khan ends up killing his own brother because of the fact that he would not share his food with him. So eventually Genghis Khan is captured and enslaved by his ex-tribe, and eventually though, he ends up getting a lot of respect and ends up uniting the Mongol tribes all together and going out and becoming the leader of all the Mongols. So all these nomads that used to go around fighting each other constantly are now going to unite and actually go out and conquer the rest of the known world. Which sounds kind of familiar. Kind of reminds me of the Muslims, right? Who did basically the same exact thing. They were nomads, to be fighting each other constantly, and then they end up uniting and going out and conquering a bunch of other land. Same thing here with the Mongols. Now, one of the things that Genghis Khan did very well was getting the respect of the poor peasant people that he had brought into his empire. So one of the things he would do is he would promote people based off of skill and not by birth, right? During this time period, feudalism was basically the way in which most people were organized. And if your parents were peasants, guess what? You would be a peasant. And those of noble blood, of higher rank, would be born into privilege. Now, so on one occasion, Genghis Khan is out in the battlefield. He gets shot in the neck. And then after the battle, he has all these prisoners lined up from the rival army. And he says, by the way, which one of you guys shot my horse? One of his opponents rises up and says, it was me. Oh, and by the way, I didn't shoot your horse. I shot you in the neck. And Genghis Khan, instead of being angry about this and wanting revenge, he says, oh, I like this food. And he ends up making him one of his leaders in his army, because it showed just how good of a warrior he must be if he was able to shoot the great Genghis Khan in the neck, right? So he saw the value this person had and promoted him to become a leader under his army. Now, another thing that Genghis Khan was very good at was that he was a great tactician. In fact, in order to scare people, which is something he did very well, he used a lot of scare tactics. One of the things he did is he would tie sticks to the horses of his soldiers, and that way a lot of dust would be blown, and basically it would scare a lot of his opponents, because they would think that their army of the invaders, the Mongols, was a lot bigger than it actually was, right? It created all this dust everywhere, so that way those that were about to be conquered would get scared. So another thing that Genghis Khan used as a tactic is using horses. So Mongols were expert horse riders. They used their horses to move around very quickly around the battlefield and be able to maneuver in such a way that would give them a huge advantage. They were very good at riding horses. They could shoot arrows from a horse at full speed. So it was kind of like having a tank out on the battlefield during that time period. It gave them a huge advantage. Some say that Mongols could even sleep on top of a horse, believe it or not. Some say also that if they were running low on water and they were close to death, that they would basically open up the artery of the horse from the neck and basically drink the blood of their horses. Mongols were experts at using scare tactics. They traumatized the people they conquered, and they made themselves seem scary so people would not want to fight them. In fact, one time in Russia, they ended up having a big plank, so a big old piece of wood, and they laid it on top of their captured, and they basically squished them to death. They would get melted silver and they would pour it into the eyes and ears of their enemies. Sometimes they would even boil people alive. And overall, Genghis Khan actually killed more people than Hitler and Stalin combined. He killed about 40 million people in total, which was about 10% of all the population during that time period. They would even use captured enemies as human shields, and they basically would tell people that they were a punishment from God himself. So all of these scare tactics scared the living daylights out of their enemies, and that's part of the reason why a lot of them, once they heard that the Mongols were coming, they would leave town. They wouldn't even put up a fight. They would say, nope, we're not messing with the Mongols. We're out of here. You can take all the booty you want. You can take all our stuff, all our possessions. We are not even going to try to fight you. It's like if you heard Thanos was coming to your city, you're not even going to try to mess with them. You're like, oh, no, I seen the movie. I ain't messing with this fool. I'm out of here. I'm going to go call Captain America or something. I'm not touching this one, right? They gave up without even putting up a fight many times. Genghis Khan was a brutal warlord, but he was also kind of a generous leader. Again, especially towards peasants. So for the poor and for the clergy, those that work for the church, he actually exempted them from paying taxes. So they didn't have to pay taxes under the rule of Genghis Khan. So for many of the people living in the medieval world, losing to the Mongols was inevitable. It was basically something that was going to happen, whether they tried their hardest to not make it happen or not. It was something that was coming to them. Kind of like this tire hitting this person. So the Mongols went out and conquered parts of Eastern Europe. They conquered the Islamic empires. They conquered China. They conquered the Korean kingdoms. So they went out and conquered everyone around them. So they ended up creating the largest connected empire ever in the history of the world, and the second largest ever in history, period, right? Only being beat by the British Empire. Besides all this violence, one of the things that the Mongols brought was actually connections throughout the world. Because they created a massive empire, they connected the world in many ways. So one of the positive things that they did is the fact that they brought Chinese inventions to Muslim and Christian lands. Okay? They brought all this knowledge that the Chinese had and kind of diffused it throughout the rest of the known world. Another thing that they did is they let people keep their religion. During medieval times, this was definitely not the norm. When you conquered people, you made them become like you. You enforced your religion on them. That's usually the way things went. But the Mongols were very open-minded. And in fact, they like to hear all these stories. They would bring Muslim leaders and Christian leaders and Jewish leaders all together and have them debate and have these great discussions. And the Mongols kind of sat there and they thought it was kind of entertaining to hear all these stories. Again, it's very interesting because you wouldn't think that they're very open-minded people because of the fact that the Mongols are known as being so bloodthirsty, vicious, kind of savage-like people. It's kind of like thinking about cholos and using social media, right? You would think that cholos over here trying to be all hard, they wouldn't be on social media. So it's kind of funny whenever I see a cholo on social media.
Fool, what is it? It's an app, fool. You take pictures of yourself and then you send it to people.
Let me see what this is. Let me see. Why you look like a pedo, fool?
Because it makes people say, wow.
So you're trying to be fake, vato?
No, I'm just like, like insecure and stuff.
Another one of the benefits of having this large empire is the fact that they reopened the Silk Roads, which had been closed for a while. Now, because again, it was all connected, this actually brought a lot of safety in the Silk Roads, which used to be kind of a dangerous place because there were a lot of bandits that knew that there were people traveling throughout these roads with a lot of very valuable stuff. But now that the Mongols are in control and they were great warriors, people did not mess with the Mongols. People did not want to steal from the Mongol Empire. It was said very famously that someone can carry a gold plate on their head from one edge of the empire to the other without any fear of it being stolen. They even created passports that you were supposed to carry as you moved through these Silk Roads. The Mongols conquering this huge part of land brought a lot of interactions between people that regularly wouldn't really be talking to each other or interacting with each other. The Mongol Empire only lasted about 100 years because the Mongol Empire only lasted about 100 years. Eventually, Genghis Khan would die. The different parts of his empire were actually split up among some of his sons, and the Mongol Empire would never be reunited again. But for now, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.